जान हिंद आ गए है नाज जिस पे हिंद को वो शान हिंद आ गए सुभाष जान हिंद है सुभाष मान हिंद है सुभाष आन हिंद है सुभाष शान हिंद है सुभाष जी वो जान हिंद आ गए है नाज जिस पे हिंद को वो शान हिंद.
Hi everybody, welcome to Curious. Of the many initiatives taken by the current government under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, one significant move has been to resurrect the legacy of revolutionary leader Subhash Chandra Bose. From declassifying many files related to Netaji's death, declaring his birthday on 23rd January as Parakrama Divas or a day of valor, and the installation of his statue at the India Gate, PM Modi and his government have left no stones unturned in reminiscing and commemorating Netaji's life and legacy. Of the many discussions happening around the legacy of Netaji, one major debate is the idea of recognizing Netaji as the first Prime Minister of independent India has never been seriously discussed. But it gained traction when PM Modi, in his speech delivered at Rajya Sabha, referred Netaji as the first Prime Minister of Azad Hind Fauz first government.
भारत का राष्ट्रवाद ना तो संकीर्ण है, न स्वार्थी है और ना ही आक्रामक है. ये सत्यम शिवम सुंदरम के मूल्यों से प्रेरित है. अनकोट. आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये कोटेशन आजाद हिंद फौज की प्रथम सरकार के प्रथम प्रधानमंत्री नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस.
Though one cannot dispute that Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister of India, but when examined profoundly, it may not be factually or legally wrong to refer to Netaji as the first Prime Minister of independent India. A brief look at the history of Indian National Army and the formation of the Provincial Government of Free India or Azad Hind Government on 21st October 1943 does indicate that Netaji's provisional government was harmonious with the then international customs of recognition of states and governments. To gain a better understanding of the ambience, it is prudent to briefly revisit the history of Azad Hind government. After Raj Bihari Bose handed over the leadership of Indian National Army to Netaji, he declared the formation of Provisional Government of Free India or Azad Hind Government on 21st October 1943. Azad Hind Government started functioning from Singapore with 11 ministers and 8 representatives from INA. Netaji was announced as the Prime Minister and the Minister of War in the Provisional Government. It also had its own currency, bank, civil code, court, and a national anthem. The provisional government was formed with the sole aim to liberate India from the British rule and channelize all political, administrative, military resource for the same. The provisional government also enabled Netaji to negotiate with countries like Japan and facilitate the mobilization of Indians in East Asia to join and support the Indian National Army in the freedom struggle. Does this mean anyone can declare the formation of new country and new government?
Do not ask for more than 3-day visa. Kailasa can accommodate anyone only for 3 days for now.
For any provisional government to be identified, it needs to be recognized by sovereign governments or states, and though recognition is purely a political question, but governments have historically invoked the test of effective control and legitimacy to recognize states or governments, and this method is still most widely accepted. Delval government of Panama, the Sabah government of Kuwait, Aristide government of Haiti, the Kabah government of Sierra Leone, even Republic of China government of Taiwan have previously been recognized by the states and international organizations as a legitimate government of their respective countries, broadly based on these principles. The Azad Hind government was not the first provisional government, as government in exile was established by Raja Mahendra Pratap with Maulana Barkatullah and few others in Kabul, Afghanistan in 1915. However, it neither was recognized by any sovereign entity nor had any element of legitimate control annexed to it. The Azad Hind government, led by Netaji, on the other hand, received recognition from Germany, Japan, Italy, Croatia, Burma, Thailand, Philippines, Manchuria, and Republic of China, and also received a note of congratulations from the then Prime Minister of Ireland, Eamon de Valera, making it amenable to the domestic and international political order. Moreover, the Azad Hind government also received overwhelming support and donations in the form of money, gold, commodities from the people of Indian origin living in India, Malaya, Thailand, Burma, making it a legitimate government with the ability to fulfill all obligations on behalf of the people. The Azad Hind government also had some territories under its effective control, making the claim for its legitimization and recognition even stronger in the eyes of customary international laws. The Azad Hind government and INA were handed over the islands of Andaman and Nicobar by Japanese after they were able to take over the islands from the British, and Netaji himself hoisted the tricolour flag here on December 1943 and named the islands Shahid and Swaraj. The islands of Andaman Nicobar till date remain an integral part of India. Though the broad principle of recognition under customary international law do indicate that Azad Hind government can be considered the first government of independent India, making Netaji's first Prime Minister, there are several historical facts and acute details that need a thorough examination and deliberation before coming close to a definite answer. When reading about India's independence movement and history, we have been exposed to the contribution of certain few only, and many unsung heroes remain unchatted even after 75 years of independence. The Indian independence movement must not be centered around a handful of leaders, rather it must be seen as a series of historic events with a due reflection on the valor sacrifices made by several individuals for India's freedom. Today, even the United States has matured enough to have a similar debate around who to consider its first president. As historians majorly affix upon George Washington, but there is a significant group of jurists who argue that it was John Hanson and not George Washington who was the first real president of the United States. John Hanson was the first elected as the president after 13 British colonies signed the Declaration of Independence and drew the Articles of Confederation. If a country like US can consciously deliberate on such matters, India must consciously and intellectually examine the claim of Netaji being the first Prime Minister of independent India. As a mature nation, we must honor the legacy of Netaji and must have his role, contribution and sacrifices discussed fairly. Do let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you.